What's up everybody? It's the Talking Penna. Welcome to another day, another video. I am back with another banger of a book recommendation video. Let's begin. Now before we get into today's video, I have a question to ask you. If you could go back in time, who do you want to meet? This question is actually a tagline to the book that we're about to talk about today, and it is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Let's begin with the review. Now, as always, before we begin with the book and the contents of it, let's talk about the author first. Before the Coffee Gets Cold is a novel written by the Japanese writer Toshikazu Kawaguchi. Now, I hope that I'm pronouncing the name all right. If not, apologies. Toshikazu Kawaguchi is a Japanese writer, director, and producer. Now, initially, a play, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, won the grand prize at the 10th Suginami Drama Festival. And this novel is actually the debut novel of Toshikazu Kawaguchi, and what an amazing start it is. Now, ever since it came out in December of 2015, it instantly became an international bestseller and of course has been adapted on the screens in Japan. Although the original text was written in Japanese, but it was translated in English by Jeffrey Trussello. On to the book review. Now, if you just read the title of the book, which is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, you might get a hint that it may be a romance novel. But surely not, it is not the romance novel, because if you flip the book and read the text that's just written over here, you'd find out that it is a quirky and warm time travel story of a small Tokyo coffee shop. Now, the story of this book stands on the strength of the small cast of characters as they support and empathize with one another and in turn win over our empathy. This novel is a unique take on the genre that seems certain of itself as a heartwarming tearjerker and is really successful in being moving. Now, of course, the hook of the novel is the time travel aspect, which, under careful scrutiny does fall apart, but you have to remember and keep in mind that this is not a hardcore science fiction novel, and ultimately it serves as an engaging and charming plot vessel to look at the interpersonal relationships among humans. Now, like a nice cup of coffee on a rainy day, this book will warm your heart and put a smile on your face. It's one of those books that you start reading and of course you cannot put down, and also it just embraces you with all of its glory, all of its affection, all of its story, and you just would not want to let the book down. The ultimate reader's dilemma. This novel is a wonderful quick read and it will transport you to a mysterious small black alley in Tokyo where its patrons are able to time travel but must return before the coffee gets cold. While it's a slow-paced novel which heavily relies on dialogue rather than description, I absolutely fell in love with the story and the little lessons that are woven into each of the narratives. Reading it was bittersweet, endearing, and touching to see and experience people from all the walks of life who try to reconnect with their loved ones, and in the journey discover that although it is impossible for them to change the past no matter what they do, they could always learn from it and be touched by it. Now, although the progression of the story goes with one character at a time telling their story and how they utilize this time travel bit, you'd find that when the story of this book, when this novel ends, you would have related to more than a single character. You'd find yourself in each of the 4 different characters that have their various different reasons for using this time travel bit, and you'd find a conflicting and desperate feeling in your heart where you would not be able to pinpoint what's happening, but you'd want to just embrace it, and you'd want to use this time travel bit and you'd want to go to the past. Now, let me tell you that this was my first time reading a translated novel. I've never before read any novel or any book which was translated. I've always read the books that had their the text that was written in English as the first language. But reading this book, I really had this desire in me that I wanted to read it in its original text, which is Japanese. Although Jeffrey had done a beautiful job into translating it from Japanese to English, I realized that the true essence of reading a book is only attained or achieved when you read it in the original text which the writer has used. And I say this because when a writer writes a piece, they're putting their emotions, their thoughts, their creativity, and their skills as writers. And sometimes, sometimes that essence is lost while it's being translated into different languages. Now, I'm not bad-mouthing the translation. I'm just saying that I had this desire to read it in Japanese. But yeah, that's what I felt while reading this book. Now, regret and its effects are no strangers to books. Countless literary work, fictional and not, have tried to explore, our innate longing to return to the past, to experience that one moment in time once again, and, perhaps find some solace within ourselves. And yet, only the time travel fiction allows its characters to truly return to the past where its readers can't. Now, in my opinion, Kawaguchi's greatest contribution to the genre and perhaps his highest accomplishment in the novel is the strictness of the rules he imposes on the time travelers. Now, when you read this book, you'd find there are certain rules that the time travelers have to follow, and one of them is written, on the page of the book, which is the title of the book, that they must return before the coffee gets cold. And we've noticed this, in any of the time travel movies that have been made, or, if you've read any fiction that is based on time travel, that always there are going to be some set of rules. If in the future, well, not near future, in the further future, if there is a technology that will be developed to allow humans, break the linearity of time and travel backwards, which is scientifically impossible, but we'll see where things go. There, of course, will be some prerequisites. If you want to return, you'd have to follow 11111, all of these things. And every writer imagines a different scenario, they imagine a different set of rules, they imagine different circumstances, and Kawaguchi has had his own imagination put into this book, and he describes the set of the rules, and which of course make it really, really conflicting for the travelers to think upon if they really would want to travel back to the time, or would it be really worth it. And I'm leaving all of this to you to find out. Get this book and find out for yourself that if the travelers choose to go back in time, and did they succeed in the reason why they wanted to do that in the first place. Now, talking about the novel in general, Kawaguchi's characters are the real stars of the novel, and their empathy for one another is so powerful, and it's the strongest emotion that emerges from this book. It combines the intense focus of the short story collections with the rich and strong characterization of a traditional novel. Now, of course, it is not very heavy on the science fiction of the time travel, but instead it's a clever and insightful look at the human behavior, the loss, and the desire to have meaningful relationships. Each of the 4 stories is rooted with difficult circumstances, packed with misfortune and sadness. Every character that expresses the wish to time travel is emotionally broken, desperate, and their decision to turn to time travel is clouded with a sense of missed opportunities and what ifs. And if this is not the basic and the most fundamental reason why time travel is such a popular thing, then I don't know what explanation deserves a better accomplishment to this. Now, there is nobody who hasn't wished for a do-overs in life. And while Kawaguchi's cafe really doesn't offer that, it provides something far more important: closure. What follows in this novel are 4 poignantly beautiful brief encounters where the characters confront and redress their losses, grief, hurt, and mistake, despite the fact that the past could not be changed. And it's needless to say that Toshikazu Kawaguchi has hit the nail and magnificently captured the heartbreak of being a human. Now, of course, time travel is not a wand that if whooshed around would magically, vanish all of your problems, but it was really touching to see how it was utilized in this novel to give people a second moment to say, I love you, I'm sorry, and goodbye. It definitely is a gentle story that will haunt you even after you put it down. For months upon months, I've eyed this book and wanting to deep dive into the story. And now that I've done that, I'm so glad that I made this decision and I bought this book and I read it. It felt like a warm hug given to me by a sweet yet heartbreaking read. That's all from my side. I hope you liked the video, and most importantly, I hope you were motivated to buy this book. If yes, then please go check in the description box. There is a link for the book. You can buy it on Amazon and Flipkart. Now ending the story of this video and ending it on the note that I began it with. If you could go back in time, who would you want to meet? Bye.